Hello and welcome to another episode of The Mindset Forge, a podcast where we discuss the best ideas of humanity, the most useful practices, and the most skillful means for developing a more well-adjusted and adaptive mindset. To do this, I will be discussing latest science, ancient philosophy that has stood the test of time, as well as the thoughts and actions of important historical paragons. The goal is to give you tools and practices and ideas for your self-improvement, with the goal of moving ahead the entire humanity. Our discussion will focus on the ideas and practices with the most cash value, so practices that are easy to take up but hold enormous potential. And since most of these practices have to do with changing your thinking and attitudes, they are completely free. Call me Laurent Lohel, I will be your host, and welcome aboard. Also, make sure to like Mindset Forge on Spotify and YouTube, as well as check out our Discord server, where you can find links to my book, which you can buy on Amazon to support my another side enterprise of being a fiction author. Without further ado, let's get to the episode. Mindset Forge, episode 23. Helping others, the best way to help yourself. Wise men don't need to prove their point. Men who need to prove their point aren't wise. The master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. Tao Te Ching, chapter 81. Welcome once again to another episode of The Mindset Forge. Today we are going to delve into a paradox that might change the way you see your role in the world. We are going to explore how the path to enhancing your own life, your own happiness, and your own well-being is often found not in focusing on yourself, but in turning your attention towards others. Yes, we are talking about the power of selflessness. In a world that often pushes us to put ourselves first, the idea of acting selflessly can seem counterintuitive, even subversive. But as we are going to discover today, numerous philosophical teachings, from Buddhism to Taoism, Christianity to others, have long emphasized the value of service to others. And what's more, modern science has been catching up, providing evidence of the incredible benefits of selflessness for our mental and physical health. In this episode, we'll delve into the psychological phenomenon known as the helper's high, the links between altruism and increased empathy, and even the surprising connections between selflessness and physical health. We'll also discuss the powerful perspective shifts that can come from focusing on others, and the profound paradox at the heart of selflessness, that by giving we often receive far more in return. So, if you have ever wondered how shifting your focus from self to others could transform your life, or you are simply curious about the science and philosophy of selflessness, then this episode is for you. The concept of selflessness or altruism has been a cornerstone of many world religions and philosophical doctrines for millennia. From ancient wisdom traditions to modern philosophies, the idea that a meaningful life can be found in service to others is almost universal. In Buddhism, for instance, one of the core principles is the concept of bodhisattva, an individual who seeks enlightenment not for their own benefit, but for the welfare of all beings. The bodhisattva ideal signifies the ultimate expression of altruism, a selfless devotion to others' well-being. From this devotion, the bodhisattva receives the energy and determination to stay on the path towards enlightenment. Christianity too is built upon principles of selflessness and love for others. The teachings of Jesus Christ stress the importance of self-sacrificing love for all people, including strangers, enemies, and the less fortunate. Love thy neighbor as thyself is a call to selflessness that has echoed through the ages. Meanwhile, in the Taoist tradition, the principle of Wu Wei, often translated as non-doing or effortless action, promotes a form of selflessness that involves living in harmony with the Tao, the natural flow of the universe, which often means prioritizing others' needs over one's own. Philosophically, Immanuel Kant, a central figure in Western philosophy, argued that morality's foundation is the categorical imperative, which demands that we act in ways that we would want to become universal law. Essentially, this means considering others in our actions, a philosophical endorsement of selflessness. Even in modern humanist philosophies, which don't necessarily involve any religious belief, altruism is often held as a key virtue. Humanism emphasizes the shared dignity of all people and encourages practices that improve the human condition, naturally leading to an emphasis on helping and understanding others. And of course, altruism isn't confined to philosophical or religious spheres. In the biological sciences, the term altruism refers to behaviors that benefit other organisms at a cost to oneself. Behaviors that can be found throughout the animal kingdom and have sparked fascinating debates about the nature of evolution and the role of cooperation in the survival of species. So, across time and cultures, the idea that there is something valuable, even transformative, about helping others is a recurring theme. But what does modern science have to say about this? Let's look into the matter next. Modern science has lent considerable weight to the idea that altruism and selflessness have tangible benefits, not just for those receiving help, but for those providing it. This brings us to an interesting phenomenon known as the helper's high. First coined by the American psychologist Alan Lux, the term helper's high refers to the feel-good sensation that many people experience after performing acts of kindness or charity. And it's not just a metaphorical high. Research has shown that helping others can stimulate the release of endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, leading to a sense of euphoria and well-being. According to research, this feeling can last for weeks. But the helper's high isn't just about feeling good in the moment. Studies have shown that people who regularly engage in volunteer work or other forms of altruistic behavior have lower levels of stress, better physical health, and increased longevity. There's even evidence to suggest that altruistic behaviors can buffer the impact of stress and contribute to enhanced mental health. These benefits aren't limited to grand gestures of self-sacrifice either. Small acts of kindness done regularly can trigger this helper's high and contribute to overall well-being. Holding a door open for someone, offering a sincere compliment, helping a coworker with a difficult task. These small gestures can add up over time, both for the receiver and the giver. Achieving the helper's high is about making altruism a regular part of your life. It's about shifting your perspective from me to we and recognizing the ways in which your actions can contribute to a greater good. And it seems that the more we do this, the more we stand to gain on a personal level. A beautiful example of a win-win situation. Research has also showed that having a concrete helping goal beats the undefined goal. For example, trying to make someone smile was better than simply trying to make someone happy in a less clear way, as those with clearly defined helping goals were happier themselves. But, as it turns out, the perks of selfless behavior extend well beyond a temporary helper's high. In fact, several studies have highlighted significant psychological and emotional benefits. In one study, researchers found that individuals who offered social support to others had lower rates of mortality than those who did not, even after controlling for various factors like socioeconomic status, health, and age. This association was not explained by physical activity, medical care, or other health-related behaviors. Other research has shown that when we give of ourselves, everything from life satisfaction to self-realization and physical health is significantly improved. Mental health is improved as well because giving replaces isolation with a sense of belonging, changes our perspective from despair to positivity, and offers one of the best natural ways to overcome anxiety and depression. In 2019, researchers even found that people who engage in selfless acts exhibit fewer signs of psychological distress, including symptoms of anxiety and depression. The study authors suggest that altruistic behavior might help to mitigate the impact of stress, possibly by promoting resilience or fostering a sense of purpose and meaning. Additionally, a study found that volunteers had lower levels of depression, increased life satisfaction, and enhanced well-being. This was especially true if they were volunteering to help others rather than to benefit themselves. As these studies highlight, the link between altruism and emotional well-being is backed by a growing body of scientific evidence. Helping others can improve our mood, reduce stress, and even potentially boost our overall mental health. It seems that in caring for others, we are also taking care of ourselves. In 2016, the brain and spine team from the Cleveland Clinic found a variety of health benefits associated with giving. Lower blood pressure, increased self-esteem, less depression, lower stress levels, longer life, and greater happiness. Now let's delve into how these findings are being utilized in various fields such as mental health therapy and workplace dynamics. A 2012 review found that therapeutic interventions that encourage patients to engage in altruistic behaviors could have significant mental health benefits. For instance, acts of kindness. A positive psychology intervention involves performing acts of kindness to enhance feelings of happiness and satisfaction. In the realm of business, a culture of altruism and giving can also enhance productivity and job satisfaction. A 2012 article discussed the idea of creating a culture of givers, where employees are encouraged to help one another without expecting anything in return. According to a meta-analysis of 38 studies, teams with more generous spirit had higher levels of productivity, customer satisfaction, and efficiency. Even in the domain of education, altruism can have profound impacts. In a study by Baylor University, it was found that altruistic values among students were linked with higher GPAs, probably due to the increased sense of purpose and motivation. Clearly, the act of giving is not just beneficial to those who receive, but it also has profound implications for the givers themselves. In helping others, we can enhance our own sense of well-being, improve our mental health, and foster a sense of connection and community. Beyond the psychological benefits, there's also a growing body of evidence to suggest that altruism may have a link to physical health benefits. Yes, being kind and selfless can make you healthier, apparently. According to a study published in 2013, helping others was shown to decrease mortality rates by buffering the impact of stress. Others research conducted by the University of California showed that people who were very altruistic had lower levels of inflammation, which is associated with a lower risk of chronic illnesses, including heart disease and cancer. Furthermore, another study found that older adults who volunteered for at least 15 hours a week had a lower risk of high blood pressure, suggesting that altruistic activities might promote cardiovascular health. So, the next time you help someone out, remember that you are not just doing good for them, you are doing good for yourself as well. The act of giving may just be the gift that keeps on giving. When we turn to game theory, which is a theoretical framework for conceiving social situations among competing players, there is an interesting perspective on altruism. Many social interactions can be modeled as non-zero-sum games where the benefit to one player doesn't necessarily mean a loss for the other. In these settings, cooperative behaviors can provide mutual benefits. One of the most well-known examples of this in game theory is the prisoner's dilemma. In its classical form, two individuals are arrested, but the prosecutor lacks enough evidence to convict them on the primary charge, so he offers both a bargain. If both stay silent, they will only serve a short sentence on a lesser charge. If one betrays the other and the other remains silent, the betrayer goes free while the other gets a long sentence. If both betray each other, both will serve moderate sentences. From a purely self-interested perspective, each prisoner's best strategy is to betray the other, but when both follow this strategy, they both receive a worse outcome than if they had cooperated with each other and remained silent. This might seem a bit counterintuitive, but the lesson here is that self-interested strategies can lead to worse outcomes for everyone involved, while cooperation, which can include acts of altruism, can lead to better outcomes for all parties. Moreover, when the game is iterated, that is, played repeatedly between the same players, strategies that involve cooperation and even altruism, such as the famous tit-for-tat strategy, can become dominant. In tit-for-tat, a player cooperates on the first move and then mimics the other player's last move in subsequent moves. This strategy is cooperative, never being the first to defect, but also retaliates when the other player defects. Remarkably, when this strategy was tested in computer tournaments, it outperformed all other strategies. These ideas have been expanded in the field of evolutionary game theory, which explores how these dynamics play out over generations in a population. Here, strategies that involve cooperation and altruism can be evolutionarily stable, meaning they can persist in a population over time. So, in the realm of game theory, there is definitely support for the idea that not acting selfishly can be a winning strategy. In addition to the scientific, psychological and practical benefits we have explored, there's another profound dimension to cultivating selflessness, and that lies in spiritual traditions across the globe. To dive into this, we have to challenge one of our most basic assumptions, the existence of an individual, separate self. In Buddhism, there's the concept of anatta, or no self. This is not a negation of existence, but rather the realization that what we often consider as the self is in fact a flowing, changing process, influenced by and interconnected with everything else. There's no fixed, unchanging self to be found. Similarly, in the Hindu tradition, the idea of Atman teaches us that the true self is not the individual ego, but the universal consciousness that permeates everything. The Taoist philosophy also holds similar views, advocating for a return to the natural selfless state, unburdened by social constructs and ego. These spiritual traditions suggest that the deep-seated belief in a separate self is a root cause of suffering. Why? Because if we think of ourselves as separate entities, we live in constant fear of loss. We feel the need to protect and aggrandize ourselves, and we suffer when the illusion of our separate existence is threatened. So, how can selflessness help? By practicing selfless actions, we begin to see the interdependence of all beings, and this can gradually chip away at the illusion of the separate self. We begin to see that our true nature is not confined to the borders of our physical bodies or the narratives of our minds. This realization can bring about a deep sense of peace and freedom, for if there is no separate self, there is no one to defend, no one to fear for, and ultimately no one to suffer. Also, thinking about others can help us forget these illusions born of dualistic thinking, such as when we are too preoccupied with our own problems to see anything else. When all of one's focus is on one's own problems, even a small nuisance can become a large issue, like a small pebble looks like a boulder when it is right in front of your eyes. Now, this is not to suggest that we should reject our unique personalities or ignore our personal responsibilities. It is more about broadening our perspective to see beyond the illusion of separateness, to recognize the interconnected dance of life in which we are all participating. In essence, by helping others, by stepping outside the confines of our self-centered thoughts and desires, we are not only improving our mental and physical well-being, but also paving the way for profound spiritual insights. To quote from a research paper called Helper's High, philosophers through the ages have written about generosity. One of the most consistent themes running through this genre is that the truly generous giver must offer something of herself if the generosity is to be genuine. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the greatest gift is a portion of thyself. Paradox enters here because when we give something of ourselves, we feel fuller and more complete, not depleted or empty. As Simone de Beauvoir put it, that's what I consider true generosity. You give your all, and yet you always feel as if it costs you nothing. And as 15-year-old Anne Frank wrote in her essay Give, before the Nazis destroyed her in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in early 1945, no one has ever become poor from giving. This process of becoming more by being less has a distinguished spiritual pedigree. It is akin to the concept of shunyata in Buddhism, meaning emptiness, voidness, openness, thusness, and kenosis in Christianity, meaning self-emptying, the replacement of selfishness by selflessness, an encompassing sense of oneness and unity with others, and a sense of connection with something transcendent. This may sound paradoxical or counterintuitive, but as we have explored in today's episode, it seems that the path to personal fulfillment and understanding might not be a path inward into the self, but outward into selflessness and into the interwoven fabric of life that includes us all. After this deep dive into the philosophy, science, and game theory behind altruism, let's now shift gears a little and talk about some practical ways you can cultivate selflessness in your day-to-day life. Start small. You don't have to start by doing grand gestures of charity. In fact, it's better to start small. Hold the door for someone, give up your seat on public transport, or help a coworker with the challenging task. These small acts of kindness can go a long way in making you and those around you happier. Practice mindfulness. By being present in the moment, you can become more aware of your surroundings and the needs of others. This can open up opportunities to lend a helping hand. Volunteer. Volunteering is a wonderful way to give back to your community and foster a sense of selflessness. Not only does it provide help to people in need, but it can also improve your own well-being, as we discussed earlier. Develop empathy. Try to put yourself in other people's shoes. Understanding the experiences and feelings of others is key to cultivating selflessness. Make altruism a habit. Incorporate acts of kindness into your daily routine until they become a part of who you are. Learn to listen. Often the greatest act of kindness we can offer someone is our attention. Listen to understand, not to respond, and show empathy in your interactions. Remember, the aim is not to become a doormat letting others walk all over you, but to extend kindness and help where it's needed and appropriate. As we have seen today, not only does this benefit others, but it also greatly benefits you, leading to improved mental and physical and, according to game theory, better outcomes overall. To close, I'd like to leave you with this thought. We are all waves in the ocean of humanity, and just as waves are not separate from the ocean, we are not separate from each other. By helping others, we help ourselves, enriching our lives and the lives of those around us. I hope you have gained something from today's episode and are feeling motivated to spread some kindness. Remember, it's not just about the joy of others, it's also about your own. Here's to cultivating a mindset of selflessness, and until next time, keep on forging your mindset. And if you want an easy way to help someone, make sure to like this podcast and recommend the episodes to others. This has been another episode of Mindset Forge. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Mindset Forge. I hope you found it informative and the lessons and practices spoken in it relevant to your situation. I also hope you found it as entertaining to listen as I found making it to be. If you found it beneficial, be sure to follow Mindset Forge on Spotify as well as on YouTube, where you can also give us a thumbs up. Also, make sure to check out our Discord server for further discussion, where you can contact me directly. Links in description and channel information. There you can also find the link to my book, which I have self-published on Amazon, called Death Drive. If speculative dystopian near-future sci-fi sounds like a cup of tea, getting the book is a great way to support my work as an author. So have a nice day and memento cerebrum formare.